While it is true, I would rather poke my eyes out with red hot needles dipped in ghost pepper hot sauce than watch a Kansas City Chiefs game for the sake of just watching a Kansas City Chiefs game. I did, however, check out some of the stats and some of the highlights, or should we say lowlights, of the game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, the MVP of 2023, versus Patty Mahomes, the NFL seems to love very much, and he's the new Tom Brady. He's the new darling of the NFL, and therefore it's okay if his offensive linemen are continuously false starting. They'll never call that on the Chiefs, as was represented in last night's game, according to all the Baltimore Ravens fans who went on social media and talked about it and showed all of the highlight clips, which I unfortunately had to watch in order to make this video. So let's break down what happened last night in last night's game and how that's going to affect the Las Vegas Raiders when we meet the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get into the fact that Xavier Worthy, a guy that the Raiders may wanted to have picked up, actually showed out, and it seems as though there's a new Tyreek Hill in town in Kansas City, and they have replaced the guy who is one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL with a guy who they are barely paying anything, as he got 2 receptions for 47 yards and a touchdown, burning absolutely everybody on the Baltimore Ravens, as well as a carry on an end around where he again burned everybody on the Baltimore Ravens defense, easily running it in for another touchdown. So he ended up with 2 touchdowns on the night, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air, and Xavier Worthy seems to be the real deal. Too bad the Raiders didn't pick him up, but hey, we got Brock Bowers and JPJ. We'll see how they work out. I think they're going to be just fine. Moving on to Patty Mahomes, Kermit the Frog himself didn't have such a great night, only having a 69.1% QBR rating, which isn't bad, but he only had 291 yards, plus 1 touchdown and 1 horrible interception, which was fun to watch. I wish he would have thrown 10 interceptions and got sacked 15 times and fumbled the ball 25 times. I don't know how you fumble the ball 25 times when you're only getting sacked 15 times, but that sure would have been fun to watch. And everybody in the world was hoping that the Kansas City Chiefs would lose to the Baltimore Ravens, because unless you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, everybody now hates the guys in red. Travis Kelsie, he only picked up 34 yards on 2 receptions, so a terrible night for him. What was more apparent last night is that the NFL has a darling child. The NFL has a team that they want to three-peat. Finally, the first team in NFL history. They weren't able to get it with Tom Brady and the Patriots, and so it seems as though they're certainly doing everything they can, because last night, the Baltimore Ravens got called on the most silly illegal formation calls 4 times in that game when they only got called once in the entire season for it last year. It's a matter of inches. It's certainly up to perception of the referee, and the referees made sure that they called it on Baltimore 4 times and not a single time on the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs were continuously false starting on their right and left tackle, and no calls were done against the Chiefs, therefore giving yet again Patrick Mahomes, the magician, which is all an illusion because magic isn't real. Sorry, kiddies. Don't mean to bust your bubble, but that's just the way that the pigeon flies, I guess, and craps on your head when you're having a bad day. But there is no such thing as magic, and Patrick Mahomes is not a magician. He is not magical. He is an illusionist, and the illusion is that the referees will not call holding on his team so they can put the opposing defense in chokeholds, tackle them, whip tackles, whatever they want to do. They can literally bring a bulldozer out onto the field and no calls would be called against the Chiefs. And that's how last night's game went continuously. With that being said, at the same time, the Baltimore Ravens defense absolutely looked atrocious last night. They were getting burned every which way but Sunday, and it was not even Sunday yet. So that's ironical, but that's a good thing for the Raiders. If the Baltimore Ravens defense really stinks as bad as they did last night, the Raiders got a good shot at beating them. And speaking of stinking, Lamar Jackson, the MVP of the league last year, did not look MVP caliber at all. In fact, he looked a lot more like a Russell Wilson than a Lamar Jackson. He was all over the place, getting sacked, fumbling the ball, throwing incomplete passes, but he didn't throw an interception. He did end up with 26 of 41 with a 63.4% pass completion percentage and 273 yards and a single touchdown. But it wasn't enough. At the end of the game, they did have a chance to tie it up, but with one toe out of bounds, they were not able to complete and convert and tie up the game, and therefore they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. So wait, what does this mean for my Las Vegas Raiders? Well, it means this. Travis Kelcie doesn't look that good, but we absolutely need to put Jack Jones and maybe a second guy on the Xavier Worthy guy when we play them, because the dude is an absolute blazer and may have been a steal for the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce's not looking like Travis Kelce of old, so he may not be as big of a threat, which will certainly help the Raiders' defense. As far as when we play the Baltimore Ravens, if their defense cannot stop the run, cannot stop the pass, cannot stop anything, cannot stop themselves from sneezing and getting penalties, then the Raiders have yet again another great chance of beating the Baltimore Ravens. That's what we need to do if we want to move forward and make the playoffs. These are big teams that the Raiders must beat